Hello world. Life can be chaotic at times. It can be difficult with family life, work and everything else to try and fit in such a time-consuming hobby or interest as modular synth. It can feel impossible, but today I want to share with you how I managed to fit it in and also why I think it is so important to do so. But before we do that, if you enjoyed this video, of course, as ever, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more of these videos, then hit the subscribe button too. It really helps the channel, and I know that a lot of people who watch these videos aren't actually subscribed. So yeah, if you could do that for me, do that right now. Hit that button, it's just down there somewhere. That would be brilliant. Thank you very much. What's also difficult is making a video whilst there are people driving past shouting and screaming. So, the struggle is real. If you are somebody maybe similar to myself who is around the age of 40, maybe a bit older, maybe a bit younger, then you probably have a very busy life. I mean, even if you are even younger than that or even older than that, I'm sure you also have a busy life. It's quite a common feature of modern life that we are all extremely busy. So that being the case, how do you actually find time to fit this in? So for myself, I have a day job where I work in a college as a lecturer. I teach from home privately. I teach guitar lessons and also modular synth, which I've done for quite some time. I have a daughter. She is approaching 4 years old, and anybody out there that has children knows exactly how time consuming and how difficult it can be to find time for yourself when you have young children. And then on top of that, for some reason, some bizarre reason, at the start of the year in January, I decided, or I started, I went back to university to study for a PhD. So there are an awful lot of things that are pulling at me on a daily basis, and it is extremely difficult to find time to fit in all of the creative pursuits that I would like to do. And over the years, this channel's been going for quite a while, but there have been periods where I haven't actually posted any videos at all. For maybe like a year or more. When my daughter was very young, I didn't post any videos. I didn't do any music at all. In fact, it just wasn't possible. And it's really sort of only the last 6 months that I've actually managed to sort of get myself back into some kind of creative consistency where I'm actually finding time to, on a regular basis, finding time to do these creative things, which includes making these videos. Tinkering with the synth, which we all know takes a lot of time, and it has been at times extremely frustrating because, especially when my daughter was very young, and I would carve out a little bit of time to do something, but inevitably something would come up, or my daughter needed me, or my wife needed me, and I would have to abandon that session, and that was extremely frustrating. There were times when I felt guilty as well if I ever would go and manage to spend some time by myself. Then I would just feel guilty that I wasn't actually spending time with my family or with my daughter or helping my wife. And so all of these feelings are perfectly normal, but it's still very important, I believe, just for our own mental health, to be able to try and find time to fit these things in. If you are a creative person, and that obviously that includes all sorts of pursuits, not just music. If you are a creative person, then it's probably even more important to find time to sort of scratch that creative itch. Potentially that's where problems can come in, sort of depression and anxiety, if you're not able to sort of help yourself and to fulfill those creative needs. And that's to say, I believe creativity has an extremely therapeutic power to it. And myself, throughout my entire life, I've found music the one constant thing that is always there, that enables me to relax. It enables me to deal with difficult situations. It enables me to sort of center myself and find peace. From a very young age, when I was learning to play the guitar, throughout high school, college, university, even today, I will often find myself, if I'm struggling with something, just sitting down and spending some time either playing the guitar or tinkering with the synth. It is just so beneficial to my mental health, and I'm sure that is the case for many of you as well. The reason for this is because when we start doing something creative, when we start working on a little project or a patch or whatever it might be, we can enter a state or have an experience of flow that is slightly different to your normal everyday life. I'm sure you've probably experienced this before, where you sort of lose track of time. You're single-mindedly focused on what you're doing. You gain a sense of fulfillment from your activity. So this is called flow, and I might make a completely separate video on this at some point. But yeah, I think this is the reason why creativity is so important, is because it brings on this sense of fulfillment and this state of happiness that happens when we get lost in a task. It's not just related to creativity, but we find it in sport. You can even find it, if you're just washing the dishes and you get absorbed in that task. It doesn't really matter what the task is, but having something specific that you're working on or that you're doing, this is where we sort of we can enter this flow state. And I'd say if you're interested in that, then I might do a separate video about that at some point. But in many ways, the act of making music or practicing your instrument or playing or patching a modular, it becomes almost like a sort of semi-meditative practice where you are completely single-mindedly focused on that one thing. You have a sense of mindfulness, which brings about it a stress relief, and then there is a joy that also comes along with that as you get lost in the act of sound exploration. And if you can do this over time, and if you manage to fit this into your schedule, then you will see mental health benefits very slowly over time, and it will improve your well-being. And so this is the reason why I believe creativity is so important, and being able to set out that time for yourself where you are able to pursue your creative ideas and endeavors and so on is really important. And it doesn't always need to be a huge amount of time. Sometimes just like 15-20 minutes is enough. It can act as just that little sort of recharge. I know it's difficult, and there are many times when I've had an idea to do something. I thought, I'm just going to try this out. It'll only take like 10 minutes, and the next thing you know, it's like 3 hours later, and somebody's shouting at me, going, "Where are you doing? What are you doing? Where have you gone?" But yeah, so sometimes though we can sort of say to ourselves, "Well, I haven't got 2 hours free, so therefore I'm not going to do anything at all. It's not worth it." But actually, just that quick sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's just a little recharge. It doesn't always need to be this huge amount of time. So if you can sort of, if you can find this time to help yourself, just a short little bit of time, that can be enough sometimes. And it could just be something as simple as just trying out a very quick patch idea, experimenting with a particular function on a module, or even not even turning the module on at all, but just writing down, journaling ideas, something that you're going to come and back to and explore later on. So what other strategies can be helpful when trying to carve out time for yourself? Well, I'm sure you've probably heard all of these things before, but it's worth repeating them. And I do find these particularly useful. So try to be sort of fairly intentional about when you're going to have this time for yourself. So for me, it's a Monday afternoon. That's a time when my daughter is at preschool. So I've got a little bit of time to myself. I've got a couple of hours there. I'm not in work on that particular day. So I've got this little block of time that I know every week, without fail, I've got some time to do something there. It might be later on in the evening, once everyone's gone to bed or everyone's settling down, taking some time for yourself there. Could be early in the morning if you're one of those people who likes to get up early before everyone else. But just trying to find an intentional time. And sometimes it's actually better not to put a specific time on that, like, right, 6 p.m. I've got to do this or whatever it is, but actually to attach it to another task or another activity that you already do regularly anyway. You say, right, after I've done this thing, then I'm going to have my time to myself where I can work creatively. That way, if your initial task, whatever it is, runs over or it takes a bit longer, you don't feel too bad that you've missed that time slot, because you just know that you're going to have your time once that task is finished. As I said before, it doesn't always have to be, a couple of hours or whatever. Just 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. These little sort of, we might call them micro sessions, they can still be of value and they can still be really useful. So try to embrace those as well. Don't always just think you've got to have a massive long session that's several hours long. Are there times or are there ways that you can integrate creativity into your daily life? So, for example, if you know that you're always going to have a little free moment, is that a time when you can do a bit of journaling? If you know that there's a little gap in the day that that normally you would just sort of sit there and watch TV or something, can you take that and go and do something else with it? There's a lot of time that we find ourselves during the day that is wasted, and a little change to our routine or how what we do in our daily lives can free up a little bit of time to allow us to come up and do a bit of work on the synth or do a bit of journaling. So one of the ultimate evils is the smartphone, of course, and some time ago I changed the I can't remember what you call it, like the loader thing that loads all the apps onto your phone. So instead of the standard, I've got an Android phone, instead of the stock Android thing where you've got lots of little colourful icons, I just have this list of all my apps. So it's meant to encourage you or not encourage you, but it's meant to sort of stop you from getting fixated on all the bright colours and going from one app to another and sort of scrolling through all your different things. And then also it has a timer function. So if you're, for example, using a social media app, after a certain amount of time, it'll pop up and tell you, oh, you've been on this app for 5 minutes. Do you want to carry on or do you want to come off now? And I remember the first time that I started using that, I was shocked at how much time I was spending just scrolling through social media. It popped up with this thing telling me I'd been on for 5 minutes. I thought, no way, that can't be 5 minutes. That felt like 30 seconds, but it was 5 minutes. And I thought that, I would normally be on here a lot longer, just randomly looking at things, articles, whatever, that are just completely meaningless. How much time do you waste on social media? I mean, that is a topic for a whole nother video, which I'm sure many people have discussed. But these little things that we can put in place to try and prevent us from sort of falling down that rabbit hole of doom scrolling, that's time that we can get back potentially to do other things, or work on an idea or something. Of course, it's always helpful as well if you can get your family or the people that you live with, if you can get them on board. So share with them what you're doing so that they know that it's important to you, and that when you are in those creative sessions, they know that you needn't be disturbed. So I'm in my room right now. This room's not a very big room, but I shut the door because I'm doing this. So people are not going to come in because they see the door shut. If I've got the door open, then they know that it's okay to wander in and have a little chat with me because I'm not doing anything too important in that moment. But whilst I'm here recording now, the door is shut. If I'm working on a patch, the door is shut, and everyone knows that if the door is shut, I'm going to be working for a little while. And that's something that I've had to discuss and explain that I need this time, and everyone has agreed to that. I'm very fortunate in what I do. You might say I'm very privileged in what I can do because my day job, I work as a lecturer where I teach music, and I teach people, how to pursue music as a career, perhaps, how to work creatively, and so on. And I'm also studying for a PhD, which is focused on creativity and specifically use of modular synth. So in many ways, I've kind of cheated the system a little bit because I've tried to find a way to bring what I do as a hobby into my working life. Now I know that many people can't do that, but there might be some small area where you can sort of try and integrate what you do creatively into your life or your working life. So similar to these YouTube videos. So I'm doing these YouTube videos. I'm teaching music at college. I'm studying creativity and composition. It all sort of feeds in together, which means that I can't help but have this time to work creatively, because if I didn't, then I would fail at all these other things that are like my job, my university degree that I'm doing, and then this YouTube channel. So all of these things would completely fail if I didn't have this time. So it's sort of, and I know everyone can't do that, but I'm very lucky in that I can do this, but I've had to sort of work quite hard to get to a position, and possibly, sacrifice other things to be able to get to the point where I can sort of work creatively on all this stuff at the same time. It sort of feeds into everything else that I do. Everything's kind of linked together. If you can sort of think a little bit outside the box, perhaps, what can you do, perhaps, that will allow you to integrate what you do creatively into the rest of your life? Is that something that's possible? Can you do that? Because if you can, then you can have these creative moments that I think are so beneficial and important to us. You can have those there as something that you do, potentially every day, if you're lucky enough. And I know a lot of people say, oh well, it's really only the very few or the very lucky that are able to do this and able to work sort of creatively every day. But actually, I don't think that's true. I think the people who are able to do this kind of thing every day, and I sort of kind of include myself in this bracket as well, albeit I've got lots of different things going on. But actually, when you look from outside, I am quite lucky in that I work creatively day in, day out. But it didn't really happen through luck. It happened through me just sort of working hard and constantly pursuing certain things, with no intention of giving up, basically, even when it may at times seemed like it was fruitless. And this could be a topic for another video as well, but when I was much younger, my parents were not that keen on me pursuing music. There were a lot of battles and conversations that went on there, and I really had to sort of do this, on my own to a certain extent. They eventually they came around and they were supportive, but in the beginning, they weren't that keen. So it's not always about luck. Luck definitely plays a part in it, but it's also about if you really do want it enough, you just got to keep going at it, and you just keep pushing forward, keep doing something every single day that's going to get you a little bit closer to that ideal place where you want to be, where you can You can sort of have this time where you can work creatively. Now, I think we're almost going off on a bit of a tangent now, about sort of working. Whereas, the point of this video was I started off talking about having these sort of creative moments, but that can feed into, eventually, it could feed into your sort of work life as well. So don't always rule that out. If there is some way that you can sort of link the two together, your work life and your hobby life, that can be kind of amazing. Maybe you don't always want to do that because you want to keep the two separate, and that is perfectly understandable. If work can be a stressful thing at times, and not everybody wants to take that step where the thing that they do for relaxation and pleasure also becomes the thing that can also cause them a lot of stress. I am kind of going off on a bit of a tangent now, so let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to what we were talking about originally. Of course, sometimes we can feel guilty about taking this time for ourselves. But I would say, if you are somebody who is a creative person, you need that creativity. It's like oxygen for you. It's like food. It's nourishment. It isn't a luxury. You wouldn't consider going for any length of time without eating or without breathing. And if you are the kind of person who is very creative, then you need to take that seriously as well. And so, sometimes we can feel guilty about taking this time out. But I think one of the first steps, if you are somebody that struggles to find time, one of the first steps that you have to take is to try and let yourself, or to acknowledge that this is something that you need to do, and to not feel guilty, and to let yourself take that time. And you'll find, I think, if you can let yourself do that, and you can explain that to the other people around you, your family, whoever it may be, they will be on board with you and they will be supportive. But it is important to sort of allow yourself this time, and to allow yourself to embrace this need. A few of the tips then, just before I finish off, I think having a space, again, this is really dependent on your situation. And again, this is something that I'm very lucky. I have this room here. It's a very small room and there's a lot of stuff crammed into it, but I am fortunate enough that this room is my space, and no one, that's not true, I say no one comes in here. My daughter comes in here all the time and she's always messing with things and moving things around. But on the whole, this is my room, messy and untidy as it is. It's my space where I can have everything set up. If I had to dig out this modular every time I wanted to use it and set it up ready to go, and then pack it away again afterwards, I would never do anything. It would never get used. Same with guitars. If I had to get the guitars out, every time I wanted to play guitar or something, I would. That would be it. I'd never do anything. So it is really important to have this kind of dedicated space. And again, it goes along with the time, doesn't it? Dedicated space, dedicated time. It doesn't need to be a huge space. It just needs to be enough that you can sort of get into and work. I used to, want to have a huge, massive studio of my own where I could have all kinds of things set up and laid out. But then, as time's gone on, I realised that actually I don't need an awful lot of space. I don't need an awful lot of a massive room and an awful lot of gear to do what I need to do and to do what I want to do. So this is enough. On a side note, I am building sort of like a studio, a wooden log cabin studio thing in the garden. That's been going on for about 2 years now. Almost 2 years, maybe, not quite, I don't know. It's been going on for a long time because I'm slow. And one day I will move into that space and this room will be reclaimed by the household. But that day's not here yet, so that's something that I am slowly working towards. Document what you do though as well. Document your creative journey. You'll find that is also hugely powerful in helping you with this whole creative thing. You know, you can sort of allow yourself to see how these small moments, if all you can get is small moments now and again, you can see how those small moments stack up over time. And so, you know, the journaling side of things, I think, is actually also really important as well. And when you have breakthroughs and good things happen, you can celebrate those and you can see them. And if you've been journaling that whole time and you've been recording your progress somehow, then that's really useful and helpful to highlight where that hard work has gone in, and it helps you really see these moments that are worth celebrating. So just to kind of sum up then, I think as creative people, we need to prioritize our time. We need to carve out a little bit of time for ourselves, and we need to try and use that time wisely and make the most of it. We need to give ourselves permission to pursue this thing that we love, this creativity, whether it be modular synth or music or whatever. And I would encourage you guys, if you are somebody who has struggled with this in the past and you've overcome it somehow, then please share in the comments below, because other people out there will undoubtedly be struggling as well and having difficulty finding time, trying to carve out that creative space. And there's many different ways that people can share how they've overcome this problem. Then that is helpful for for everybody. But ultimately, life might be busy, but even amongst all that chaos, there will always be room for creativity if you can make it a priority. So if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button. If you want to support the channel further, you can always buy me a coffee with the link below, and of course there is Patreon as well, where you can sign up with a free account or even a subscription account. I don't know what you call it, a paid account. There's not an awful lot of stuff on Patreon at the moment, but I'm going to be sort of setting that up and rejigging that soon. So watch this space. Okay. Of course, as ever, leave comments below and ask any questions, etc. I think this is the end of the video now, so I will see you next time. Goodbye.